Hey guys, so we're going to do the rear antenna. The rear antenna's been broken probably for a while, so I'll demo it and then show you how to replace it. So as you kind of heard there at the very end, you heard some clunking. It does actually go up a pretty good ways in this particular case. Sometimes they break at a much shorter distance, but it does make that sound. So we're going to take it out, hopefully replace it. I did buy this guy. This is actually an OEM antenna. I was really hard pressed. This thing was like $67 or something like that. The eBay specials are about 20 bucks, and it didn't even come in a Honda bag or anything. Was really disappointed in that. Might not suggest buying the OEM one. So the first step in this particular case is to remove this locking nut here. I've got this little wrench here. I've used needle nose and other things. This one is not particularly tight either, and so a couple of turns. A actual Honda wrench might be a little better. You know, this one kind of almost hits the body panel because of the way it's tilted. Once you break it loose, you can just turn it with your hand. So apparently knocking the little rubber washer off is key, but that's basically it. There is a little rubber O-ring. Try to zoom in on it, but there's a little rubber O-ring right there. And then this guy, pretty straightforward. So the actual Honda manual says basically just turn the radio on, get the antenna up, and yank it out, push the new one in. Pretty straightforward. You can tell this one's obviously more curled over the years. Doesn't surprise me, right? I mean, it coils up just like that down in there. That's an expectation. You can generally see this one's actually not in too bad a shape. In fact, it doesn't even really look broken. I was expecting it to be broken. Doesn't really look broken. So looking at the length, and you guys can't really see this, but I've got the antennas basically sized up and then pulled straight. The length is actually about the same. And so I think that skipping sound that I heard is truly, probably you can see, let me turn the monitor on here, but you can kind of see, maybe if it zooms in, you can actually see the grease build up at the very end, and so maybe it's causing the teeth to skip. They actually look a little worn down right there toward the very end. And so what's happening is that it's it's not grabbing these teeth, not pulling it all the way down. You could probably try to clean it, clean the grease out. In some cases, you could probably file that down. What I've seen in most cases is that this actually breaks, right? It coils up, it dries out, it gets hard, with 20 years, and it just breaks. And so it breaks somewhere in here and then doesn't go all the way up. I'm actually kind of surprised because it's not broken. Usually I have to take the antenna out because it breaks, and then half of this cord is actually down in the motor assembly. It's not a bad idea to take the motor assembly off and re-grease everything, but in this particular case we might be okay. So we'll put the new one in. I mean, like I said, this one seems like it's in pretty good shape, but I'm going to go ahead and put the new one in and we'll go from there. Getting that sheath out, it's probably corroded together like most of the rest of the car, quite frankly. And so I'm just going to feed this this new antenna down, and I did easily pop the little metal sheathing off. It obviously can. It comes off this pretty easily, which is probably part of the first problem. And so now we're going to just go ahead and reinstall this guy, hopefully pretty successfully. Push that guy down, and we'll actually go and pull the antenna down and see if it actually sucks all the way down and adjust from there. So looks like we're in good shape. Okay, so you'll notice that after a couple of attempts, you got it so that it really just cuts off right there. Adjusting it up and down, you just manually kind of force it up and down a couple of clicks, and then it'll cut off right when it hits. And it's supposed to be kind of self-adjusting, so it's got a slipper clutch, so that if you push it too far down the first time it pulls down, it goes click, 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 and then it goes up and down the same amount of clicks. And so it really should be self-adjusting if you push it down far enough the first time. So I threw this in the so you can see it there, but I threw this in the parts washer. I've got an ultrasonic cleaner parts washer as well. I'm going to take a little bit about back to black on it. When I say a little bit, maybe a lot. It separates the little rubber piece from the black plastic piece. So you know, we'll clean both of these up. It's got a little lip on it where it basically sinks up and pulls up and around, and you know, just a pretty nice feel to it. And then it's got a little pin that lines up there. It's got a little hole in the gasket that lines up as well, so we'll get that lined up, and then we can go ahead and put it back down, clean that up, reinstall our O-ring, give it a quick snug. I'll put mine front to back. Not sure. I'll actually ask somebody how their original one came. See, but you know, that's how you reinstall a new antenna mask. You know, like I said, it's possible, if yours is sticking up like mine was, that you can actually clean the grease out of the teeth and potentially reinstall it, hopefully without snapping it like I did mine, and get it to working. Again, if it's broken, which many of them are broken off, you actually have to pull the antenna assembly out. I'll probably pull this one when I get the new parts in and whatnot. I'll probably pull this one and clean it, re-grease it, because the grease dries out and that causes a lot of stripping of gear. So I'll probably clean all the grease out, clean everything up, re-grease everything, just so that everything's in good factory condition. Thanks for watching, guys. Don't forget to subscribe. We will be doing the full rebuild, and you know, look forward to doing that here in a couple of months.